From my kitchen, Chris and my husband and I are making dog food. Really, he's making dog food. It's really his chore. But we've taken about a year to perfect it to get to the point where we love this recipe, where we feel like the dogs are getting everything that they need. And so I wanted to show you what it is that we do. And all the dogs are like hovering the area. They're like sharks waiting to be fed, because they know what the ingredients smell like and they know exactly when we're making dog food. So they're here waiting to be fed. And if you hear it, actually Socks is going into her bowls. She's ready to eat. All right, so the first thing I want to show you is the ingredients, because it's actually really simple. We have very few ingredients, which is one of the reasons we like it so much, is that we know exactly what goes into this food. We make it ourselves, we buy the ingredients ourselves, and we can control the quality of the ingredients that go in. So I'm going to switch this around and I'm going to show you the ingredients. So first and foremost, it's beef, and we do raw food. You can cook this like a meatloaf, but we prefer not to. There's two reasons why we decided not to cook it. The first reason is because we're vegetarians and the smell of cooking beef in our house is nauseating. But the other reason is because so much research has shown that raw food is actually very good for dogs. Their digestive tract is pretty much designed to eat raw food. So that's what we do. Just to keep it kind of in their nature, in tune with their natural meals that they would have if they were wild dogs. So we have 4 dogs. They all have done amazingly well on this. We've been on this raw food diet for over a year. We have had one dog with a bout of diarrhea one day in over 365 days. And most pet owners know that diarrhea happens all the time for unexplained reasons. It does not happen in this house since we changed their diet. So I would say that's one reason alone to think that raw food is not only safe, but it's awesome for the dogs. So another thing you see in here is the egg. So we put in hard-boiled eggs with the shell. The shell is for calcium, so they can absolutely have it. You can just use your hands to mix all of this in, but my husband likes to put the eggs in a food processor. Here he is handing me this. Look at that. We're ready for TV. My handy assistant is handing me this. So basically you can see that he's using a food processor to blend it all together. Shell and egg whites and egg yolk. So that the only problem with doing this by hand is that it would hurt. Hi Socks, what do you think? It would hurt your hands. The shells are pretty sharp, so when you just blend everything with your hands and the shells are big, it kind of does hurt the hands. So that's why he prefers to do that. So he's adding the rest of the egg. Underneath, we have rice. So this is white rice, just cooked, boiled white rice. That's all that's under there. And then we also use pumpkin. So the original recipe that we got this from does not have pumpkin in it, but pumpkin has more fiber than rice. So we kind of calculated how many carbs we needed for this recipe to be fully nutritious, and we substituted some of the rice with pumpkin. So we just use pure pumpkin, very simple. You can find it at the store, especially this time of year. So that goes in as well. So then we also have supplements that go in, and the supplements are really important. Again, we got this recipe somewhere, so we've changed it since slightly, but the core of it is the same. And we got it from the makers of Dinovite. So I'm not being paid at all by Dinovite to do this video or anything like that. We've been using this stuff for a long time. It has a lot of nutrients in it. You can use this as a supplement even if you don't make your own dog food. There are people who swear by this if their dogs have any kind of itchy skin. That's something that people have been using this Dinovite for, in addition to their regular commercial kibble. But this Dinovite is actually part of the recipe that we use. So Chris put that in the bottom of this big old pan that we got on Amazon. It's like one of these industrial kind of restaurant pans so that you can mix everything in. This makes how many cups? About 48 cups. 48 cups of food in one of these bulk recipes that we make. And then another thing that we use is coconut oil. They need some fat in here, additional to the fat that we use for the beef. The beef that we buy is either 90-10, 90% protein, 10% fat, or 80-20, 80% protein, 20% fat. We've been reducing the amount of fat in the recipe recently just because Titan, one of our oldest, had some elevated pancreas levels, just showing that he had maybe too much fat in his diet. So we just went down to 90-10, and it seems to have helped. So that's kind of where we are now with the 90-10, even though the original recipe calls for 80-20. And then again, coconut oil is the fat that we put in extra to the beef fat. And this is obviously for all the omega-3s. We don't cook it at all, so this goes in raw. We also sometimes use fish oil. We alternate just because fish oil all the time could possibly raise their mercury levels, so I don't want to do that. So we alternate fish oil and coconut oil so they get different omega-3s when they do have these meals. So all we have to do is mix this, and one of the reasons why I have my husband do this is because he doesn't mind the dirty work, and he will mix all of this and he will make portions. We portion out the meals, we put them in a Tupperware, we put about 2 days worth in the fridge, we freeze the rest of it, and we make sure that food handling is a big priority for us. Because it is raw food, we don't leave things out to defrost like on the counter, even though the original recipe says you can. What we do is we defrost everything in the fridge because it's just safer that way. We make sure that we are always on top of our dogs' elimination habits. So in our backyard, you won't ever find poo. We pick up after every single dog goes and does their business because it's important to make sure that you know how your dog is eliminating and if it looks healthy or if there's something off. So we're really diligent not only about feeding them well, but also watching their elimination habits just to make sure that there's no illness or any kind of a food allergy or any kind of a reaction. We love this food, and I'm just gonna leave you to that nastiness. Say hi, Chris.
Hello.
We love this food. We love it for a lot of reasons. We love it because we think it has saved us money. We have 4 dogs, 3 of them are big. Commercial dog food is not cheap, especially quality stuff, grain-free stuff, the stuff that you'd want to feed your pets. So we think it saves us money. We know that it's been great for our dogs. Our dogs love it. I mean, Radar. Say hi. Radar's like just sitting around. They love this food. They've never been so food motivated until we got this food. Especially Radar. He like would turn his nose up at everything until now, and now he just like sits here and stalks us until the food's done. And another reason that we love it is because we get to control, like I said, the quality of the ingredients that go in. And that's really important because it's such a hard decision to choose your dog food or your cat food these days. It's really hard because you don't know what you're really buying. And when you look at how much you're spending, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't feed all of my dogs this well as you would probably want to. So if you have any questions about our recipe, I'm happy to share it. Because we have changed it from the original recipe that we started with. And if you have any questions about raw food, by all means, like, ask away. I'm happy to answer it. We are not nutritionists. We are not pet nutritionists. We're not human nutritionists. But we're really big on the food that we eat and the food that our pets eat. Like, we're very committed to knowing where things are sourced, how things are sourced, making as little bit of an impact on the animals as possible, and making sure that what we feed our pets and what we feed ourselves is of the highest quality, with the fewest pesticides, insecticides, and all that stuff that goes into food these days. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them while Chris makes this dog food. So. All right, so somebody wants the recipe, so I'll be happy to share that. Chris, are you saying hi?
Hey, hello. My hands are
Chris,
really nasty
when Chris
right now,
is nervous, he speaks with an accent. So that I don't know what that was.
No accent.
So I'll be happy to share the recipe. I will share it on a blog for the Wag Pack. That'll be the easiest way for me to get it out there. And I will just show you Titan waiting to be fed. Okay, so. Oh, great question, Alexandra. I have a question from a friend, Alex. You cannot alternate between raw and kibble. Unfortunately, there is a transition to raw that you need to observe in order for your dogs to do well on it. So our dogs had to be fasted for 24 hours before we went into the raw. So we stopped the kibble, waited 24 hours without food. They did fine. They didn't suffer. They're dogs. They usually, in the wild, they would go for at least a day without food between hunt. So they're fine doing that, but then you can't really alternate back and forth because you might cause some kind of a stomach upset. So if you travel a lot, raw food is not super convenient. It really isn't. If you're going back and forth, say, you know, you have two homes or the dogs go back and forth, you travel a lot, you have a pet sitter that they stay with, all that stuff, you really need to consider how convenient it is for you to feed your dogs raw. Like when we travel with our dogs, and we travel with 4 dogs, it's kind of nuts. We usually have to upgrade, get a suite with a refrigerator and a freezer and things like that. So it's not super duper, you know, convenient. And it is something that takes more planning than throwing a bunch of kibble in a bowl, right? It really does. Look at this guy. Look at this. They're just waiting. They're obsessed because he has raw food on his hands, and they're just obsessed. All right, so yeah, Alexandra, I think, sorry, I keep calling you Alexandra. Alex, I think you're probably better just going with a really, really high quality kibble until you kind of have like things more stabilized, just because travel and raw food, and the last thing you want to do is have the food handling compromised, because then your pets could get sick. That's the last thing you want. I mean, raw food is great so long as it's handled properly, and you might just be adding stress to your life by doing all of this. Hi, Pat. Thanks for watching. Long time no hear from you. Thank you, Alex. I love the question. All right, so I guess we don't have any more questions. I think I've covered everything. Again, you guys are welcome to comment, even if I'm not live. I'm happy to, yeah, sorry, Darcy. Darcy will have, you know, we didn't switch our dogs to raw food until we moved here. Our latest move gave us more time and more, because Chris and I didn't even live together before we got married. So now we had 2 people taking care of the 4 dogs as opposed to 1 person taking care of 2 dogs individually. So we just had more of a support system and more of like a kind of a routine that we could deal with. And that way we could make this as part of our like weekly or monthly routine. So Titan and Socks didn't start their amazing raw food journey until they were 8. So Darcy has plenty of time to eat the commercial stuff. Once things settle down, then you can add, you know, the raw food to her exceptional life already. All right. I think that's all I have for you. Again, if you have any questions on anything, and I will share the recipe tomorrow, but if you have any questions on anything, just ask me in the comments. I will share. We love raw food for our dogs. Again, only the beef is raw. Everything else is cooked. And it does have supplements, and it's a very specific recipe. You can't just throw stuff together and feed it to your dogs. By no means is this video supposed to like encourage you to like go all chef on your dog food, because we have to make sure that we're balancing our pet's nutrition, whether it's commercial or whether it's homemade. All right, thank you guys. Oh, and we do have a question. Does this work on all dogs? We have a Yorkie with a very sensitive stomach. Any ideas? The best thing you can do is try it, but you have to. And I know it sounds like you're torturing your dog, but you have to respect that 24-hour fast. And then once you reintroduce the food, you're not reintroducing it like, you know, a full portion. You're going very little by little, so that their stomach adjusts to the food. But again, this is very simple food. I mean, the ingredients are very simple. Your dog should be able to digest beef, eggs, rice, pumpkin, and some supplements and some fat. I mean, that's so simple for your pet to digest. It's nothing weird, it's nothing extensive, and it's nothing new to what they would probably be getting from their commercial food. It's just a different way. So especially if it's raw, you want to make sure that you're letting them build up all of that, you know, bacteria in their belly that's going to help break everything down. So you're going from a 24-hour fast into a small portion until their full portion, maybe a week after. So they're going to be eating a little kind of limited for a week. But I assure you that once they get on that food, they're going to be thrilled that you transitioned them. And so long as you do it right, there shouldn't be any stomach upset. Like I said, we have had diarrhea one day. Socks had diarrhea one day. one poo in 380 days. One case of diarrhea. 4 dogs. And I'm a dog walker. I'm a pet sitter. I know that diarrhea is like a thing that just happens. And it doesn't happen in this house. So I have to give some credit to the food they're eating. All right. Awesome. Pat, that's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that you are down in the land of Oz. You're welcome, Veronica. How often do I feed my dogs? 2 times a day. Good question. I am a big believer that dogs should be fed twice a day. I don't like the idea of a dog getting like a heap of food once in the morning or once at night. I feel like it just makes them ravenous, and really they should be eating twice a day. And puppies even more often, just as they're growing, they are going to need more calories throughout the day. So they eat in the morning and they eat in the evening. And what's really cool about this recipe, I'm happy you asked that, Veronica. What's really cool about this recipe is that they don't need as much. So my big dogs, the ones that are sitting there staring at Chris, so these 2 big dogs, Socks on my right weighs about 70 pounds and Titan weighs about 55. Look at that belly on him. Look at that belly on you, Bubby. So they eat a cup in the morning and a cup at night. 2 cups a day total is all they need of this food. And look at their coats. They're amazing. Like, they're so healthy. These dogs are both 9 years old. They're my seniors. They're our seniors. You can tell by like their gray muzzles. Look how much, you guys, you would think that I like paid them to like do this. They're like obsessed with the food. They love it. They're happy. Look at how healthy they look. I mean, I have no complaints. Seriously, no complaints. And before we went on this food, by the way, they were on commercial food. They went on the most expensive, most quality commercial kibble we could afford, and it was always grain-free. I highly recommend grain-free food for both dogs and cats. Grains, even for humans, we're not really thrilled with around here. So just make sure you're doing your research. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. And again, if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. Say bye, Socks.